Yeah, welcome. The topic we are going to discuss in this lecture is instruction hazards. So we are discussing about pipeline. So in the last class we have discussed about data hazards. So this lecture will be focusing on instruction hazards. So previously we have discussed briefly about instruction hazards that instruction hazard will occur when when there is a delay in fetching the instruction. That is especially if the instruction to be fetched is not available in the cache. If there is a cache miss, then the processor has to go back and take the instruction from the main memory. Because of that, there will be delay introduced. And because of this delay, the pipeline will be stalled. And if the pipeline gets stalled because of such reason, then that is called as instruction hazards. So that's what we have discussed. But what we are going to discuss in this topic, in the sense, instruction hazard not only happens because of catch miss. There are two reasons for instruction hazards. Of course, the first reason is catch miss. If the instruction to be fetched is not available in the cache, then the processor has to take it from the main memory. That is the first reason. There is also a second reason. When we execute, when the processor executes a branch instruction, during that time also instruction hazard will happen. Why? Catch miss means this is it is understandable, right? Because the instruction is not available in the cache and the processor has to take from the main memory, so some clock cycle will be wasted. So during those clock cycle, the other instruction should be stalled, and that hazard is instruction hazard. But why the pipeline stalls because of a branch instruction? Okay, the reason is, assume that the first instruction is getting executed, something like this. It is fetched, it is decoded, it is executed, it is written. Okay, so this is the clock cycle, say 1 2 3 4. So as intended, it was done, right? Okay, now assume that the second instruction is a branch instruction. Second instruction is a branch instruction. But does the processor knows that it is a branch instruction before fetching or after fetching? No, it don't know. Processor assumes this instruction to be a normal instruction and it will fetch during clock cycle 2. Okay, as of the pipeline, because during clock cycle 1 fetch unit is with instruction 1 and it will be decoded during clock cycle 3. It will be executed during clock cycle 4. After executing only, processor will understand that this is a branch instruction which is asking to go to the instruction K. So basically this instruction says that go to instruction K. Branch means it is the control will be transferred to some other instruction, right? Okay. But meanwhile, so basically this instruction says that what it says in the sense, go to I'll write as go to instruction K, that is the branch target address. Let us assume the branch target address or target instruction is IK. Okay, but meanwhile what happens, instruction 3 will be started fetching and decoding, all that will happen. Instruction 3 will be fetched during the third clock cycle. It will be decoded during the fourth clock cycle. At the end of the fourth clock cycle only, the processor come to know that this instruction 2 is a branch instruction and it is asking to transfer the control to instruction K. So after that, processor 2 has to stop instruction 3 from executing further, because this is not the flow. After instruction 2, normally instruction 3 should be executed. Now as instruction 2 is a branch instruction, the control should go to instruction K. So after fourth clock cycle, instruction 3 will be stopped. Okay, then not only that, during fourth clock cycle, again instruction 4 will be fetched during the fourth clock cycle. Okay, so the processor will stop instruction 3 and also it will stop instruction 4, and instruction K will be fetched during which clock cycle? instruction K will be fetched actually during the 5th clock cycle, because at the end of 4th clock cycle only processor knows that control should be transferred to instruction K. So now instruction K will be fetched during this clock cycle, and then it will be decoded, and then it will be executed, and then it will be returned. Okay, so that is during 7th clock cycle it will be executed, during 8th clock cycle it is returned. Okay, now if you see, the processor is stalled by how many clock cycles? These two instructions you should not count, because this is not part of the flow. Okay, this is not the, these two instructions were not part of the flow. So this two instruction actually you should not count, because this is not the proper, it is, these are executed with lack of knowledge or with lack of information. Okay, so if instruction 2, as it is a branch instruction, it does not have any write operation. Okay, had it been not a branch instruction, it will have a write operation, and it would have finished at 5th clock cycle. Okay, right? Assume that immediately after fetching instruction 2, we know that it is a branch instruction and the control should be transferred to instruction K. If that is the case, then instruction K would have started, then instruction K would have been fetched at clock cycle 3. At clock cycle 3, okay, then it would have finished at clock cycle 6, because I am talking about IK. Okay, because I2, if it has a write operation, it should finish at clock cycle 5. Okay, if these 3 were not wrongly fetched, and if instruction K is correctly fetched at the right time, okay, how it is possible? Let us not go into the detail. Okay, I am trying to explain like how many clock cycles the hazard happened. Okay, then the instruction K would have been fetched at clock cycle 3. If it is fetched at clock cycle 3, it would have been executed and written at clock cycle 6. Okay, so if there is no such issues, if there is no, this problem has not happened, if instruction 3 and 4 were not unnecessarily fetched, then instruction K should have finished at clock cycle 6, provided if the processor able to understand that the next instruction is instruction K immediately after fetching instruction 2. Okay, but now that has not happened. Now instruction K has completed only at 8 clock cycle. So the pipeline is stalled by how many clock cycles? 2 clock cycles. Pipeline is stalled by 2 clock cycles. Okay, so here the pipeline has stalled. So this has created a hazard. This hazard is also called as instruction hazard. So this instruction hazard is created because of branch instruction. Okay, so this is the topic of this session. Okay, so instruction hazard not only happens with catch miss, it may also happen with branch instruction, and how instruction hazard happens with branch instructions, and is there any way to reduce the impact of the hazard? That's what we are going to discuss in this topic. So our focus is mainly on branch instruction, right? Okay, so in branch instructions there are two types of branch. One is called as unconditional branch, the other one is called as conditional branch. Unconditional branch means there is no condition, it always branches. So whenever, say it says that branch 2, say we can say is branch what do you call branch 100, it means that whenever this instruction comes for execution, it always says that go to instruction 100. Okay, so before that there may be many instructions. So once this instruction executes, it says that always it will transfer the control to location 100. Okay, so this is the unconditional branch, there is no condition. Whereas conditional branch means based on some condition, it says that a branch should happen or not happen. Say for example, a branch not equal to 0, if it is not equal to 0, branch to location 150. What is not equal to 0? Before that there may be some arithmetic operation like decrement R1 or decrement R2. Okay, so you are decrementing the register R1 or R2. After decrementing, if R1 is not equal to 0, then go to location 150, otherwise don't go. So only if R1 is not equal to 0, it will go to 150. If R1 is 0, then the instruction that follows the branch will execute. Okay, this is just one example. So like that there may be different conditions. Okay, for example, in high level languages If is a conditional branch. If this is true, execute this, else execute something else. Okay. So first we are going to discuss about unconditional branch, because these are easy to deal with. Okay, because unconditional branch means there is no condition, uh, always always the instruction is going to transfer the control to some other location. That is called as unconditional branch, right? So let us consider unconditional branch with a two-stage pipeline. Let us consider unconditional branch with a two-stage pipeline. That is, the pipeline has only two stages, fetch and execute stage. So during clock cycle 1, the first instruction 1 is fetched during clock cycle 1 and it is executed during clock cycle 2. Instruction 2 is a branch instruction, but processor does not know prior that it is a branch instruction. It is fetched during clock cycle 2. Okay, so we are discussing two-stage pipeline. Remember, it's not four-stage, it's just two-stage pipeline. So instruction 2 is fetched during clock cycle 2. It is executed during clock cycle 3. After executing, only processor knows that it is a branch instruction and it want to transfer the control to instruction K. It want to transfer the control to instruction K. But meanwhile, what happened? Instruction 3 was fetched during clock cycle 3. Okay, but at the end of clock cycle 3, processor recognized that after instruction 2, the instruction supposed to be executed is K, not 3. Okay, but instruction 3 is already fetched. So processor will stop this execution. It will not execute. This cross represent, it won't go to execute stage. Instruction 3 will not go into execution stage. It will be stopped from getting into execution because this is a wrongly fetched instruction. Okay. So at the end of instruction 3 only, processor knows that the next instruction to be fetched is instruction K. So instruction K is fetched at 4th clock cycle and it is executed at 5th clock cycle. Instruction K plus 1 will be fetched at 5th clock cycle. It is executed at 6th clock cycle. Okay. Now in this case, the processor, the pipeline is stalled by how many clock cycles? So there is one unnecessary instruction sitting in between, that is called as instruction 3. Okay. See, assume that due to some magic, we know that after I2, IK is the one to be executed. Okay. How that? Let us not go into that. If you know that, then instead of I2, if IK is fetched here, okay, then IK would be executed here. Okay, in that case, instruction K would have been completed at 4th clock cycle, right? But now instruction K has completed only at 5th clock cycle. So the pipeline is stalled by how many clock cycle? 1 clock cycle. Pipeline is stalled by 1 clock cycle because we know that the branch should take place only at the end of 3rd clock cycle. But by the time instruction 3 was fetched, right? So here the pipeline is stalled by 1 clock cycle, but actually the number of clock cycles by which the pipeline will be stalled, it actually depends on the stages of the pipeline. It actually depends on the number of stages in the pipeline. Let us discuss another example. It is similar to the one which we have discussed previously, but let us assume here the stages, the pipeline contains 4 stages: fetch, decode, execute and write. The pipeline contains 4 stages: fetch, decode, execute and write. Instruction 1 is fetched during 1st clock cycle, it's decoded during 2nd clock cycle, it's executed during 3rd clock cycle and it's returned during 4th clock cycle. Instruction 2 is a branch instruction, but processor does not know prior. Okay, so it is fetched during 2nd clock cycle, it is decoded during 3rd clock cycle, it is executed during 4th clock cycle. After execution only, processor knows that it is a branch instruction and it want to branch to instruction K. Okay, but meanwhile what happened? Instruction 3 was fetched and it was decoded. Not only that, instruction 4 was also fetched. By the end of 4th clock cycle, processor knows that after instruction 2, instruction K is the one to be executed, not instruction 3 and 4. So the processor will stop instruction 3 and instruction 4, and instruction K will be fetched at 5th clock cycle. It will be decoded at 6th, it will be executed at 8th, 7th, and it will be written at 8th clock cycle. Now the pipeline is stalled by how many clock cycle? See, if instruction 2 is not a branch instruction, it would have been completed at 5th clock cycle. Okay. If we know that instruction K is the one to follow instruction 2, then we could have fetched instruction K during 3rd clock cycle. Okay. And it would be executed during, it would be decoded during 4th clock cycle, it would be executed during 5th clock cycle. Okay, and it would be returned during 6th clock cycle. Okay, right? But we don't know that. Because of that, instruction K is now written, it is completed at 8th clock cycle. So the pipeline is delayed by 2 clock cycles. Okay, pipeline is delayed by 2 clock cycle. The scenario here and the scenario there, here both are same, but the only difference is here it is a 2-stage pipeline, here it is a 4-stage pipeline. Okay, as the number of stages in the pipeline increases, the stall will also increase, right? So here there is a 2-stage pipeline, so it created a stall of 1 clock cycle, but here it is a 4-stage pipeline, so it is creating a stall of 2 clock cycles, right? Okay, fine. So because of branch instruction, there is some pipeline stall. The pipeline is getting stalled. So this pipeline stall is called as branch penalty. This pipeline stall is otherwise called as, the pipeline stall that happens because of branch instruction is called as branch penalty, right? Okay, it can also be called as instruction hazard, but otherwise it can also be called as branch penalty. Because of taking the branch, we are paying this price, so it is called as branch penalty. Okay, so the hazard or the stall that happens because of branch instruction in the pipeline is called as branch penalty, right? Now, is there any way to reduce this penalty? So here the penalty is what? 2 clock cycle. Can we reduce this penalty? Can we make it to 1, or can we make it to 0, or can we reduce to certain extent? Is it possible or not? Okay, the answer is yes. The answer is yes, provided if you have a sophisticated fetch unit. So some of the processor comes with a sophisticated fetch unit that immediately after fetching an instruction, the fetch unit has the ability to identify whether it is a branch instruction or not. Okay, suppose if you have a sophisticated fetch unit which can detect whether the instruction which is currently fetched is a branch instruction or not, then the moment it is passed to the decode unit, the decode unit will immediately identify the branch target address at the end of decode clock cycle. That is, you need not wait for the execution to be done to identify the branch target address. By the end of decode itself, the branch target address can be identified. If you are able to do that, then the branch penalty can be reduced. Okay, so the logic is, if the processor is equipped with a sophisticated fetch unit, then these sophisticated fetch unit can detect whether the instruction which is being fetched is a branch instruction or not. If it is a branch instruction, once it is passed on to the decode unit is supposed to fetch the operand, right? Along with fetching the operand, it will also identify the branch target address immediately. So by the end of decode, once the decode is done, the processor will be knowing what is the branch target address if it is a branch instruction. Okay, so now we need not wait for the execution unit until execution is done to identify the branch target address, or to identify whether something is a branch instruction or not. Okay, so let us assume that we have a sophisticated fetch unit, and let us assume that the branch address is decoded at computed as the decode stage itself. Okay, then what will happen? So the same scenario, in the previous case the branch address is computed at execute stage, but if you are able to compute it at the decode stage, then let us see how things will turn up. So now instruction 1 we are executing, During clock cycle 1 it is fetched, during clock cycle 2 it is decoded, during clock cycle 3 it is executed, during clock cycle 4 it is written. Instruction 2, it's a branch instruction. It is fetched during clock cycle 2. Okay. So immediately after fetching, now the fetch unit knows that it's a branch instruction. But it just senses that it's a branch instruction and it gives to decode unit. The decode unit will identify, along with fetching the other operands, it will also identify the branch target address. So now by the end of clock cycle 3 itself, we know that this is a branch instruction and the branch target instruction is identified, or the target address is identified. So now the processor knows that after instruction 2, the instruction to be executed is instruction K, not instruction 3. Okay, clear? So now we need not, the difference is, in the previous case we are able to detect that it is a branch instruction only at the end of 4th clock cycle, but now we are able to detect that it is a branch instruction. Now the processor is able to detect that it's a branch instruction by the end of 3rd clock cycle itself, right? But during 3rd clock cycle, instruction 3 is fetched, but processor will stop it from executing because this is not the flow, so this instruction should be dropped. Okay, but instruction 4 is not yet fetched. Okay, but so instruction K can be fetched during the 4th clock cycle and it can be decoded during 5th clock cycle. It can be executed during 6th and it can be returned during the 7th clock cycle. So now the pipeline is stalled by how many clock cycles, or what is the branch penalty? Okay, here the branch penalty is what? If I2 is not a branch instruction, then it should have completed at 5th clock cycle. Okay, right? If IK is, if you are able to fetch IK during 3rd clock cycle, which is the ideal case, then it should have completed at 6th clock cycle. But now IK has completed at 7th clock cycle, so the branch penalty is 1 clock cycle. Branch penalty, or you can say that the pipeline is stalled by 1 clock cycle, whereas here the pipeline is stalled by 2 clock cycles. Okay, 2 clock cycles, but here the pipeline is stalled only by 1 clock cycle. So what we have done here, we have reduced the branch penalty by 1 clock cycle, right? Okay, so this is one of the technique to reduce the branch penalty. Okay, can we reduce the branch penalty further? Is there any way to reduce the branch penalty further? Yes. How? By using an instruction queue. By using an instruction queue. So far what we are doing, what we are discussing is, the fetch unit will fetch one instruction, it will give to decode, the decode unit will decode it and it will give to execute, the execute unit will execute and then it will be returned. That is what we are discussing. Okay, it is every time the fetch unit should fetch an instruction from the cache. Okay, but instead what we can do, in the sense, we can maintain an instruction queue. We can maintain an instruction queue, right? The job of the fetch unit is to just fetch the instruction and keep it in the instruction queue. It need not bother whether dispatch unit is, there is another unit called as, this decode unit is otherwise called as, now we are renaming that is decode unit as dispatch and decode unit. Okay, so the instruction, the job of the fetch unit is to just fetch the instruction from the cache and load it in the instruction queue. It can load as much instruction as possible. That is only restricted by the size of the queue. Okay, so say for example, first instruction it is fetching from cache and it is loading here. Second instruction it is fetching from cache and loading here. Third instruction it is fetching from cache and loading here. Say fourth instruction is not available in the cache, there is a cache miss, then it can fetch it from the memory and it can load it later. Are you getting? So the advantage here is, even if there is a cache miss, it is not going to affect the pipeline as long as there is some instruction available in the queue. Okay, as long as there is some instruction available in the queue. So the job of the dispatch or decode unit is to just take an instruction from the instruction queue and it will decode it. It will remove one instruction from the instruction queue. It will decode that instruction it will fetch the operand and it will keep it in the buffer as usual. And the execution unit will take these contents and it will execute, and it will write the output in its buffer, that is the ALU's output. And the write unit will take this output and it will write in the appropriate register. Okay. So here we are introducing an instruction queue. So the fetch unit can fetch and keep the instruction in the instruction queue in advance. So what is the advantage of this? In the sense, there are two main advantage. One is, assume that there is some data hazard. There is some data hazard in the pipeline. Because of the data hazard, the decode unit is not available. Okay, somebody else is decoding some other previous instruction. It is keep on decoding. So now the dispatcher cannot remove anything from the queue. Now the dispatcher cannot remove anything from the queue, right? Okay, because the decoding unit is with somebody else, and some other instruction, and that instruction is keep on decoding for 2 or 3 clock cycles. That's what we are assuming. Okay, fine. So nothing can be dispatched. There is nothing can be removed from the instruction queue. But still, that is not going to affect the fetch unit. That is not going to affect the fetch unit, because the job of the fetch unit is what? It should fetch the instruction from the cache and it should load into the instruction queue. If there is a cache miss, it should fetch the instruction from the main memory. Okay. So this is what the fetch unit is going to do continuously. Okay. So even if the dispatch unit is unable to dispatch the instruction from the instruction queue, the fetch unit can keep adding instruction to the instruction queue. Okay, this is one advantage. The another advantage is, assume that already the fetch unit, already there are some 2 instructions. Okay, or even assume there is only 1 instruction. Okay, now fetch unit is trying to fetch the second instruction from the cache, but see, the second instruction is not available in the cache. Now what happens? There is a cache miss. There is a cache miss. Now this second instruction has to be fetched from main memory. Cache miss I am calling as, say, CM, and this is main memory. Okay. So fetching this instruction from the main memory may take, say, let us take 5 clock cycles. Okay. But this is not going to affect the dispatcher, because already, even though the fetch unit has faced a cache miss problem, already there is another instruction available in the instruction queue. It can take this instruction, it can dispatch this instruction. Okay, this is the worst case, there is only 1 instruction, but you can assume there are more than 1 instructions. Okay, so these are the advantage by using instruction queue. Okay, fine. So that's it about unconditional branching. Okay, next we will be discussing about conditional branching. So conditional branching is little tricky to deal when compared with unconditional branching, because in conditional branching what happens, in unconditional branch always the branch will be taken, but that is not the case with conditional branch. Sometimes it may be taken, sometimes it may not be taken, so it depends. Okay, so if you take a typical program, 20% of the instruction will be branch instructions. Okay, and if and whenever there is a branch instruction, there is a chance that there will be some branch penalty. Okay. So how should we deal with conditional branches? So to deal with conditional branches, we have a concept called delayed branch. So what is meant by delayed branch? Delayed branch in the sense, actually, see, for example, in the previous cases whatever we have discussed, see, let us take this particular timing diagram. Here if you see, in the first case, if you see, these 2 instructions are not supposed to be fetched. Okay, but we have fetched it, and we have paid the penalty for that. Okay, penalty in terms of extended clock cycle. Okay, so similarly here this instruction is not supposed to be fetched, so because of that also we paid penalty. Okay, so these instructions are called as delayed instruction. These instructions are called as delayed instruction. Why? Why it is called as delayed instruction? Because it is creating a delay in the pipeline. The pipeline delay is introduced because of executing these two instructions unnecessarily in this case. Here the pipeline is delayed because of executing this instruction unnecessarily. So these instructions are otherwise called as delayed instruction. So we are going to use that delay instruction, delayed branch. Okay, here we are going to use a concept called delayed branch, which is connected with those delayed instruction. Okay, to reduce the impact of the stall, or or to reduce the branch penalty. Okay, fine. So how we are going to do? Let us see that. Fine. So consider this particular code. This is the code which is originally written by the programmer. Right. Let us assume that R2 is equal to 10. R2 is equal to 10. Which R2 represents the number of times a loop should be executed. R2 represents the number of times the loop should be executed. Okay. Shift left R1. R1 contains something. We are shifting it to the left by one time. Then decrement R2. We are decrementing R2. So initially R2 is 10. Now R2 becomes 9. Okay. Branch equal to 0. Actually it is given as equal to, but let us assume it is not equal to, so that it will be meaningful. So let us assume branch not equal to 0, loop. So branch not equal to 0 means what? It will check the previous instruction. What is previous instruction? Decrement R2. What is that previously? 10, now it is 9. So is 9 is equal to 0? No, it's not equal to 0. So loop. So loop means this will execute. Okay. Again shift left R1. Second time it becomes 8. Again not equal to 0. Like that, finally it becomes 0. When it becomes 0, the loop will not be taken. This add instruction will execute. Add R1 comma whatever now in R1, that will be added with R3, and the result will be stored in R3, and we came out of the loop. Okay. So this is the actual logic. Okay, but here what happens? Here, if you see, what is the delayed instruction? What is the delayed instruction? The delayed instruction is this instruction. Add instruction is the delayed instruction. If you draw a pipeline for this, how it will happen? Say this is, let us say this is I1, instruction 1. Say this is I2, instruction 2. Say this is I3, instruction 3. Say this is I4, instruction 4. Okay. Fine. Now instruction, say clock cycle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Say instruction 1 is fetched during the first clock cycle. It's decoded during the second clock cycle. It executed during the third clock cycle. It is returned during the fourth clock cycle. Instruction 2, it is fetched during second, executed during, decoded during third, executed during fourth, returned during fifth clock cycle. Okay. Instruction 3, this is a conditional branch instruction. Depending on its value, the branch may be taken or not taken. It is fetched here, third clock cycle, decoded here, fourth clock cycle, executed here. Okay. So here if you see, most of the time the loop is taken. Branch not equal to 0 means most of the time the loop is taken. I mean, if R2 is equal to 10, what happens? 10 to 9, I mean 10 to 1, 1 to 10, 10 times the loop will be taken. Only when it is 0, the last time the loop will not be taken. Okay. But every time what will happen? I4 will be fetched. But every time what will happen? I4 will be fetched. What is I4? Add instruction. That will be fetched. Okay. That will be fetched during fourth clock cycle. It will be decoded during fifth clock cycle. If there is an instruction below I4, let us assume there is an instruction below I4, that is I5. We don't know what is that. Let us assume. So I5 also will be fetched. I5 also will be fetched. But at the end of the fifth clock cycle only, we know that this instruction is a branch instruction. Then we will give up these two instructions. Okay, and again the control is going to which instruction? I1. Now once again we will fetch I1. Okay, that this is I1 will come once again. That will be fetched during 6th clock cycle. Okay, otherwise, if it is properly, if you are able to predict immediately, or if you are able to know that after this branch this I1 should come, then it can be fetched here itself. Are you getting? So now the pipeline is stalled by 2 clock cycles, or there is a branch penalty of 2 clock cycles. Okay, fine. Now the concept of delayed branch, what it says in the sense, here this delay is happening because of this ordering, because after this branch instruction this instruction is coming, okay, and it is executing partially, so the delay is introduced and we cannot avoid that. Okay, so is there any way to execute a proper instruction in this place? Okay, let us not waste this clock cycle by executing an instruction which is not supposed to be executed. Rather than that, can we execute some useful instruction during that time? So that is the intuition. So with that, what idea is proposed in the sense, this logic can be rewritten like this. Okay, who will write this means compiler will do this. It is not always possible. Some cases it is possible. So if the compiler is an optimized compiler, then this same code can be rewritten like this without compromising the logic. The same code can be rewritten like this. It is reordered without compromising the logic. So what we are doing here, first we are shifting left, then decrement, and then branch, and then add. Here first we are decrementing. First you decrement. Don't shift left. First you decrement. After decrementing, check whether branch is 0 or not. Are you getting? After decrementing, check whether branch is 0 or not. If branch is 0, take the loop. Right? If branch is not 0, shift left. Okay, then here what happens in the sense, now actually shift left should come before branch 0. But now we are placing branch equal to 0 after shift left. So which means what we are allowing this shift left to execute. We are allowing this instruction to execute in spite of whether the branch is taken or not. That is correct actually, because that is the actual code says. This branch equal to 0 is not connected with shift left. Whether the branch is taken or not, in the previous round it should be shifted left. Now here what we are doing, we are reordering it like, see, when this branch, we will recognize this branch only after decode. So we will allow this shift to happen because this should be executed. Okay. So depending on the branch, now the loop will take, but the shift will always execute. So let me show the corresponding timing diagram, or it is here, Okay, before that let us see a simpler one. So say for example, now let us say this is instruction 1, this is instruction 2, this is instruction 3, and this is instruction 4. Okay. So these are the clock cycles, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Say instruction 1. It is fetched during first clock cycle, it's decoded, it's executed, is returned. This is decrement. Okay. Instruction 2, this is the branch instruction. It is fetched during second clock cycle, it's decoded, it's executed, it's returned during, there is no write. Okay, it's a branch instruction, there is no write. Now instruction 3, this will be fetched. Now we allow instruction 3 to execute. In the previous cases, the instruction that follows the branch instruction, we will stop. Okay, but now we will allow, because it is compiler has reordered this. Now we will allow this to continue, because shift should be executed in spite of whether there is a branch or not. Accordingly we reordered. Are you getting? See, add should be executed only if branch is not taken, whereas shift should be executed always in spite of the branch is taken or not. Okay, So that is the logic. That is what this logic says. We have just reordered the code without compromising the logic. So the logic should not be compromised. So we allow the third instruction to execute. So fetch, decode, execute, write. That will happen. The shift will execute as it is. Okay. Instruction 4 is what? Add instruction. Instruction 4 is add instruction. That is, it is actually, it will probably, it will fetch. Okay, probably it will fetch. Okay, probably it will fetch here. Probably it will fetch here. Okay. Now instruction 3 we will not discard. Only instruction 4 we will discard, because instruction 4 is the one, it's not supposed to be executed, because the branch, it says there is a branch. So after this instruction 1 will come. So if instruction 1 will fetch, decode, and it will execute. Are you getting? So by following this, now the pipeline is stalled by how many clock cycles? It is stalled only by 1 clock cycle, because 3 is not wasted. 3 is now useful. Okay. So instruction 1 can be fetched during this time, but we are unable to do that. So the pipeline is stalled by only 1 clock cycle, or there is a penalty of 1 clock cycle. This is the case with 4-stage pipeline. If you consider 2-stage pipeline, then even this penalty also will not be there. There will not be any penalty at all. Okay, right? So with 2-stage pipeline, it is shown in this diagram. For the last 2 levels, assume that R2 is 2. Okay, assume that R2 is 2. So if R2 is 2, what will happen? Consider this one, decrement R2, that is R2 becomes 1. Branch not equal to 0. If it is not equal to 0, loop. Okay, so loop will be taken, shift also will execute. Okay, because in spite of whether the loop takes or not, shift will execute. Okay, and then what will happen? This add won't execute. Okay, then the next round R2 will become 0. Branch not equal to 0, no, it's equal to 0. So now also it will shift, but it will add. Okay, so that is what it is shown here. So if initially, let us assume R2 is 2, so first decrement is executed. It's a 2-stage pipeline, fetch and execute. Okay, then branch, what is it? Fetch and execute. Okay, fetch and execute. Okay, then shift. This is the delay slot. Fetch and execute. In spite of whether the branch is taken or not, this will be executed. Okay, so that we call this concept as delayed branch. Okay, but here the branch is taken. If branch is taken, after this again decrement should come. So again decrement is executed, fetch and execute. Again branch, fetch and execute. Again this shift delay slot, fetch and execute. In the last case, when R2 is 0, branch is not taken, so the add will execute, fetch and execute. Is it clear? So this is another way so delayed branch is one technique to reduce the branch penalty or hazard, or what do you call, or pipeline stall. Okay, so here it is we are using, this is by using a 2-stage pipeline. So I think it's clear. So the point is, this is with a 2-stage pipeline. So let me draw the 2-stage pipeline thing also here. Let us assume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, let us say this is instruction 1, this is instruction 2, instruction 3, this is instruction 4. So this you should understand now. The instruction that follows the branch, now it will execute in spite of whether the branch is taken or not. We are allowing it to execute. We are not going to stop. Okay, the processor will allow. So during first instruction 1 will be 2-stage pipeline. It will be fetched during first clock cycle, executed during second clock cycle. It's a decrement instruction. Then branch instruction. It is fetched during second clock cycle. It is executed during third clock cycle. So by the end of third clock cycle, we know that it is a branch and the branch should be taken. But the third instruction we won't stop because the compiler only has reordered it to avoid hazard or to reduce the what you call branch penalty. So it is fetched by the end of third clock cycle. We know that the branch should be taken, but the third instruction will also execute. Okay, this we are not wasting this clock cycle. It is useful because every time the shift should happen. Okay, now the branch is taken. So fourth instruction will not come here. Are you getting? Because at the end of third itself we know that the next instruction to be fetched is instruction 1, but we allow instruction 3 to happen as it has already fetched, and it is not going to waste anything. Okay, and it is not a wrong thing to execute this. Logically it is correct. Okay, so now after this instruction 1 will be executed because the branch is taken. So it will be fetched during fourth clock cycle and it will be executed during fifth clock cycle. Okay, now there is no stall. Are you getting? Are you getting? So this is the case when the branch is taken. Let us assume in the next round branch is not taken. So after instruction 2, instruction 1 again instruction 2 will be fetched during fifth clock cycle, executed during sixth clock cycle. Then instruction 3. Instruction 2 is a branch instruction. Now assume that we don't want to take the branch. Okay, that is branch equal to 0. Actually this is not equal. Okay, if it is not equal, we will take. So the second case, let us assume the branch is not taken. Okay, then also instruction 3 should be executed. Okay, that is it will be fetched during sixth clock cycle. It will be executed during 7th clock cycle. Now branch is not taken, so instruction 4 will execute. Okay, it will be fetched during 7th clock cycle and it will be executed during 8th clock cycle. Okay, so there is no delay at all if you are using two-stage pipeline. Okay, if you are using four-stage pipeline, even after this also it will introduce uh, one cycle of delay or one cycle of penalty. Okay, yeah, still there are something to be discussed with unconditional branch. I mean the instructional hazard with unconditional branch. That will continue in the next session. We'll stop here. Thank you.